Hey, it's Pops. And did you know there was going to be a new Spawn film? There's always going to be a new Spawn film, but evidently we're moving a little bit closer in theory. Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, spoke about this and quickly divided fans. Let me show you how divided they got on his remarks. Todd actually said, this was headlines on Bounding into Comics. Is Todd McFarlane's Spawn film embraces Hollywood wokeness? All right. That's what I suppose. Oh, wait, we did it. Okay. Did that go? There it goes. Okay. There we go. Todd McFarlane's Spawn film embraces Hollywood wokeness, discusses the interview that he has. He was speaking to CBR. So I want to go to CBR because that would be more appropriate. Let's go to the source and actually read and get to what was actually done on CBR. And their headline is CBR Spawn's Todd McFarlane says the reboot won't rehash the same origin story. Now, is it the same? Yes, it is, but it's more about what is said here. McFarlane says, I didn't want to do the comic book origin story from issues 1 through 3 in the movie. We were looking for people, without even telling them that, to give them a little bit different. Unfortunately, 80-90% of it, according to the person involved who was interviewing most of them, were falling into the trap of retelling the comic book story in the movie. We saw that movie. The movie came out 20 plus years ago from New Line, so we haven't seen that it would be interesting and relevant today, both in terms of filmmaking and social content. There it is. There's the part that had the other site so bent out of shape. Uh, yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, listen. First, let me agree with Tom McFarlane. I don't really need to see the origin story again. I can have it through a little quick flashback slash retelling. I don't need to have the a gratuitous Batman death of his parents, bat flying in the face, nightmare scenes. I can have a very quick Spawn retelling. However, it only gets worse because it's like, well, I made this movie 20 years ago. Well, first off, it's been 20 years, bro. Lots changed. Technology's changed. You've written, I don't know, a whole lot of comic books since then. I'm fine that you want to do something different, but sadly, it only gets worse. Now he's referring. This the author is referring, making footnotes for those of us who don't know. 1997 was when the film came out with Michael Jai White as the uh, title character, uh, and he says one of the people working on it that is going to be a big name when we finally get to announce it. I think he said we went through close to 100 scripts, but as many people as he could. We were looking ideally for someone that could bring a voice to the character on 2 levels. I'm just a white Canadian kid. I haven't lived the life of an America of someone with dark skin. We thought it was important to get the perspective of somebody who has, someone with the perspective of coming in and adding a slightly different bent to what you and I as comic book readers already know as to what Spawn is about. There you go. There it is. That's what everybody's divided about. The guy that has written Spawn, created Spawn, way ahead of his time, black dude, is the main character. It's got a white significant other in the movie. They race swap stuff for the 1997. Let's be a little bit more authentic. Let's do some different things. But no, it's white guilt. Todd's got white guilt. And because of his white guilt, he's destroyed the energy and enthusiasm about this film because even if this doesn't hold and they change the direction, this is what people are going to be thinking about the film's going to be. No matter how they disguise it, how they cast it, good luck trying to not tell everyone that your film is not going to be a bunch of race-based motivations instead of a great Spawn story. It talks about him planning basically a number of years of trying to get this film done, get this project done, which we know. Oh. When Spawn came out, it was huge, right? McFarlane was already super, super hot. He had this incredible run on Spider-Man, created Venom, did a great Spider-Man title of his own. His art is phenomenal. And with Spawn, he has that crazy, changing, moving cape Great combination of sort of like horror and fantasy and sci-fi, and it's just all blended so well with these different creatures and demons, and yet at the end of it all, it's this human love of the man and his woman, and trying to figure out a way of grasping some element of his humanity. And instead, we're going to talk about him being black in America. Sometimes I wonder if the people that write this stuff or own this stuff have any love for it, or they either feel like they either come in unattached and like, listen, I just want that job, or it's more like the resume approach. Or in his case, in Todd McFarlane's case, the white guilt is blended with just bitterness. I've been doing this for so long. I'm ready to like hand the property over. I want to try to create something. Maybe a major studio will get back. That's basically what it sounded like to me. It sounds more like a Spawn pitch for like Warner Brothers, a Spawn pitch for Lionsgate. It doesn't sound like a guy that wants to do an independent film that will stay true to his creation. In fact, it sounds like somebody that wants to go 180 degrees in the opposite direction. And I don't know what Spawn fans he thinks is going to line up and see this thing. Is it going to be the people that are buying King Spawn today, or is it the people that are in my age group that have been buying Spawn this whole time? Because he's never going to escape that interview. This movie is dead on arrival right off the bat. And if it's rated R, even worse, because rated R movies have already eliminated a faction of their audience just based on the pure math of it. So when you combined cutting out a large faction of normies and now all of this sort of allusion to race and wokeism, and you have Bounding in comics that are going with it in their headline, and others that are basically completely avoid talking about it. There's a third story. They don't even talk about sort of like kind of like all this. He's surrounded because he says it wasn't just my decision. In other words, he's surrounded by people that are like this. So I don't know. Blumhouse has at least taught it. I would be shocked if that actually goes all the way through with them. I think that part of the appeal of the Jason Blum, the Blumhouse movies, I don't know, is it Blum or Blumhouse? Bloom or Blum, either way. Sorry, I will look that up. I won't make that mistake again, but I don't know. I would love to see that. I would rather see that style of, horror and stuff brought into it. But if we're going to be obsessed with the fact that it's a black guy underneath all that makeup, or it's a black guy underneath all that CGI, it's going to lose some of the key elements. And I'm not sure by the time that this gets made, people are going to care a whole lot. Like the streaming services is where all of the energy and motivation on the pandemic is squashing so much enthusiasm for major theatrical releases. So until that changes, I hate to see Todd go through all this for decades, try to get another Spawn film made. He finally gets it made and just dies a mediocre death on some streaming service. But if that's what you're listening to, man, I didn't know Image was like this. I didn't know this was what it was like. I was ready to go and at least give King Spawn a chance, wait for a few issues, maybe take a chance at it, see what it's like. And I may still do that, but it's not as much of a priority now as it was when you consider the culture and the environment that they're having, his attitude towards his primary property. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're like, hey, listen, I don't care what it looks like. Give me a Spawn movie. That's fine with me. Tell me what you think. You got comments. You know, all the little bells and whistles. You can pop them off and support the channel. Thanks so much for your time on Pops.